Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, a.k.a. B. Joseph. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos, hit that like button. Y'all come in here. Let's get it popping. All right, so we back with another video for y'all today. Getting some lunch from the crib, man. About to head out, man. Get some relaxed time at the beach. But before I get that, I want to get another video out to y'all today. I did a video earlier this morning about the Clippers, LA Clipper Talk, which I'm taking a day off for me, myself, my health, B Jizzle, because I do a lot for y'all, man. I definitely love y'all. Appreciate y'all all day. But I need a self-care day, as they much say. I'm going to enjoy it and be back on the grind this weekend. But I want to talk to y'all a little bit about a subject that's kind of, parsed my mind a little bit. So as y'all know, there's been a lot of different injuries that's been going on throughout the league, man. I'm not talking about just regular players. I'm talking about the stars. I'm talking about the star players in the NBA have been taking injuries left from right, not just last year, but the years prior in this new generation. A lot of the stars have been out of certain, games, primetime games, parts of the season, playing a low amount of games throughout the season. And people scratch their head as like, why is that is? Now, I watched a segment called Gil's Arena, a podcast led by Gilbert Arenas and former players like Kenyon Martin, Rashad McCants, Brandon Jennings, a couple more players. I can't remember the host's name. I think he used to play football, bald-headed guy from LA, from out here. They spoke on a subject last week, and I watched the entire segment for like 30 minutes, and it talked about why players were, constantly getting hurt and not staying healthy. And that's why I just rolled the window up so y'all can hear me better. But they had a segment with those guys on the panel. I think Brandon Jennings wasn't there though. But people kind of question like what's going on with the players getting hurt so much and getting hurt so often. And it's a good subject to have because it affects the product when players aren't on the court. They're not on the court playing. It affects the money, the bottom line, the dollar signs, all that goes by the wayside if you're not on the court playing. Right? So when you look around and you see the top players in the league, Ja Morant not playing, Zion Williamson not playing. It used to be Anthony Davis, here from there. Kawhi Leonard's been out. Paul George re-injured his hyperextended his knee last night. All these different players that you guys look at the top player, Joel Embiid just coming back, Tyrese Maxey just coming back from a hamstring strain. Norman Powell is out with a hamstring. All these players, man, are getting these little knickknacks and these injuries, and constantly coming in, coming out. It's foreign to certain people that played back in the 2000s and even part of the 2010s. My era was the 2000s, watching guys like Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, Vince Carter, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Chris Webber, players like that. The stars would always be available. I used to remember watching the NBA back in 2000, the late 2000s and early 2010s and beyond. You didn't really concern yourself with players as far as stars being out. You weren't worried about looking at the injury report, who's going to be playing, who's not. But it seems now, more times than not, you find yourself looking at your phone. I'm like, who's going to be playing tonight? And it's kind of a nerve-wracking feeling because it's just like, bro, like, why is it that we got to keep going through this time in, time out, every game by game? Players being out for knick-knack injuries, players being out for certain illnesses that, quote-unquote, are illnesses, but there are really other reasons why they're out. They might want a personal day off, or it might be something else, but the team doesn't want to get fined, so they'll say like it's an illness or personal reasons. So it's a lot of stuff that players who are former and current can kind of expose behind the scenes that the average fan may not know. Now, Gil's Arena, I love that podcast because it's one of the player podcasts that actually go in, behind the scenes. I love player podcasts because they give you a different perspective of how things are looked at around the NBA. So when I look at, Gil's Arena, that show primarily is about, topics, surrounding the NBA. And certain little details that you got to catch that you may not catch if you know what I'm saying, don't have your ears open, your eyes open. But me watching the segment with the players being hurt constantly was interesting because, you know, you pay a ticket to go see a player play and he ain't playing. I don't care who you are, you're going to be somewhat a little bit frustrated and disappointed, right? And it messes up the flow of the competition when certain players don't play. And I listened, you know, from person to person on that segment. Kenyon Martin had a great point, which I totally agree with. A lot of these players now, from what he was playing back in, you know, the 2000s, 2010s, early part of 2010s, Kenyon Martin, training and how these players work out is different from where they used to work out. So training camp, for example, is the time before the season that players get about a week, at least back then, to work out with the team and all that stuff and getting great condition, right? You're trained throughout the summertime and all that stuff. You come in for training camp, you go through, you know, rigorous workouts, 2 a day, stuff like that, to prepare yourself for an 82-game season, right? Kenyon Martin came out and said that, look, how we train, how we practice, they used to kick our ass in training camp. And I remember that. I remember used to watching certain NBA shows where they used to show training camp in depth of certain teams, what they would do, right? They'd be running up and down, sprints up and down the court continuously, getting in shape. It was more about getting in shape than more about, you know, skill work and playing ball. Like, you would do some of that, but it was more about getting in shape and testing how much in shape you were. And they would go 2 a days. 2 a days are simply you be working out twice a day. You might work out in the morning, early in the morning, go home, take a nap, get something to eat, come back in the afternoon, have another training camp practice. And then if you really were serious, you might come back for a third time for an individual workout. And make sure y'all hit that like button as y'all come in here, man. It's a very important topic. But he believes that players aren't working out how they need to work out, and these coaches and these trainers aren't training these players how they need to be trained, which is why you keep seeing all these people get these little knick-knack injuries, hamstring strains and, you know, calf strains and leg strains and all that stuff, man, that you really didn't really see as much back in those days. And I can attest to that. Me, myself, playing pro ball, not at the NBA level, but I did play overseas. I did play, you know what I'm saying, you know, in other professional leagues where they did have training camp. They did have the same thing that they had in the NBA. You go through a week training camp and you basically get drilled by the coach and they test your endurance, they test your stamina and how in shape you are. It's the same thing. And they used to kill us, right? They used to put us through rigorous training to make sure that we were, you know, prepared for the regular season. I want to see how long can you run, how fast can you run, how your wind is, how fast can you move, all those different things. I want to know that about you as a player. But now, credit to what not just Kenyon Martin said, but Gilbert Arenas said, more of these players are not being trained as if they're athletes. They're being trained as if they are trying to, I'm not going to say the phrase, but they're not being trained as athletes. They're not being pushed as athletes. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, when you look at, you know, an athlete, you got to be prepared to go into battle. And if you are getting all these little knickknacks and you being out every other week or every other month, it's something wrong. Either you're not physically in shape to undergo the pounding, or your body mechanics, you haven't been trained. Like, you don't, you know, train yourself enough to, you know what I'm saying, have good body maintenance. Like, they used to do weightlifting, right, back in, you know, those days. You see a lot of those players, like those power forwards are strong as an ox, centers are strong as an ox. Look at the centers and power forwards now. Skinny, fragile. Everybody wants to be a finesse player and want to shoot threes and dribble around the perimeter. So basically, bigs aren't bigs anymore. Centers ain't centers anymore. They don't play in the post how they're supposed to play. Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, who else am I thinking of? DeAndre Ayton, Jonas Valanciunas. You know, some of your best centers in the NBA don't even play like bigs, right? Ivica Zubac and Domantas Sabonis are pretty much the only two that really play like traditional bigs. Even Domantas Sabonis plays finesse and likes to, you know, come off these screens and stuff. But he sets hard screens. He plays physical, right? He plays like a big. But it's a reason why I said the body structure of a lot of these players are not what it was back in, you know, those days where you actually have big, real centers playing like real centers. When you when you lift weights, that's supposed to keep your body maintained. That's supposed to get you ready to, if you hit somebody or somebody hits you, you can handle it. But all these dudes are going down like flies when they get hit or they get nicked a little bit. The game is a less physical game, right? Right? You have a lot of different factors why I think a lot of injuries are happening, but it's a topic that we need to actually get into because it's something that's, I think, affecting the game. I mean, just look at hell last night with Paul George, man. I seen this coming a little bit. I ain't say it, but I kind of saw this coming. PG said this on this podcast a few years ago, saying that he feel like low management makes people weaker. If you guys remember Paul George's career, he used to never get injured. He used to play like 70, 75 games a season with Indiana and OKC. He didn't start getting injured really until he came to the Clippers, and then so on. Now you see 55 and 60s and stuff like that. He played 74 games last year, which was great. But I'm just saying, I think the load management is also an issue for him. I think also body mechanics and how you run and jump and how you land, that makes a difference as well. I think Paul George's body mechanics, if you guys watch how he plays, he tends to like fall asleep on defense off the ball, and then he tries to rush and recover, and that twerks your body where you start having these hyper knee extensions. Like, you shouldn't have 2 hyper knee extensions in a month. There's something going on there. There's something that you're not building your muscles. And then I'll look at his body. He has weak hips and he has weak glutes and alignment and stuff like that. I mean, this is just stuff I'm putting out there that, you know, people may not get, but I'm just telling y'all, you having these lower leg extremities like that quickly, you're not training your body correctly, or you're not training the right muscles. So here we are, another with a hyper knee extension. You got Ja Morant constantly being out with these injuries, falling over the place. He don't know how to land properly. You know what I mean? He's frail as hell. You know what I'm saying? He got all the athleticism, all the spurt and all that stuff, but he can't stay on the court. Right? Ja Morant's another one gets hurt constantly. Zion Williamson, right hamstring strain. 4 or 5 seasons in the league, cannot stay on the court. Strong as hell, powerful as hell. You lost all the weight. What's going on with you? Why are you not staying on the court? You should be hurting other people. Zion Williamson is naturally gifted, naturally big and strong, but does he really maintain his body through weightlifting and dieting? That's another thing too. A lot of these younger players don't take care of their diet. Luka Doncic is another one. Another report comes out, Luka Doncic, the Mavs are worried about his diet. Now, he has a wrist injury, but how many years have we heard people talk about Luka Doncic's diet? It's like, bro, you're getting paid millions upon millions of dollars for you to keep having the same discussion, and you don't want to change. Is beyond me. That's another thing, too. I think players are now different from what they used to be. The mindset, bro, the focus, the attention to detail. When you hand a person or a player, not even a person, a player, a person a certain amount of money, that's a character thing. What you tend to do, it's either going to make you more of what you are, or it's going to change you into something else. If I'm getting paid guaranteed money and I'm a person that doesn't really give a damn about, you know, changing or doing better things, it's going to only enable me to keep doing the same thing. We keep hearing the same thing with Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson, staying in shape, eating more better, all that. But yet you see the same bad habits, right? So I think back in the 2000s, and those players who weren't guaranteed these contracts, and I think they put a more mentality, like a human mentality, like, okay, well, I know I'm not guaranteed this money yet, so I have to work for it, I have to earn it. I'm gonna, you know, do what I need to do, play when I need to play through injuries, all that stuff. and then I'm gonna get my money. See, guaranteed contracts is a gift and a curse, because it's great that these players are getting their money, but I also think it gives a little bit of a lazy mindset and a entitled mindset not to, you know, change your habits, right? You should, with all the expertise and all the training out there possible, it should not be this much of a strain for these players to be on the court, man, and be durable. You're paid to play basketball. You're paid to be in shape. You're paid to, and I'm just thinking that a lot of these organizations and these coaches and these trainers are saying to themselves, well, I'm paying this player, you know, this amount of bread and this amount of money. What can I tell him? Well, the problem is that these fans are paying all this money for these tickets, and they can't even see their best players on the court. It's messing up the product. It's messing up the environment. And then people are asking questions like, why is this so? Like, how are you getting paid this amount of money year in and year out, and you're not staying healthy? It's a number of different factors. And like I said, watching Gil's Arena yesterday really put things in perspective on, you know, why I feel like the way I feel about, you know, these types of, you know, discussions. But my solution is, like I said, the problems that we have, you have to have solutions for. You have to, I think they have to start going back to more, I mean, because it's kind of tough though, because it's like you developed a beast, a mindset that these players are kind of already comfortable, and the culture has been, you know, switched and flipped so much that, do you want to really start making rules up now? Because all it's going to do is going to probably make people rebel. But there is definitely an issue with durability with these players nowadays, and it doesn't make sense with more technology, more weight training, more different things that you have access to, vice versa back in the day, and these players are dropping like flies. It has to be a mindset, it has to be a culture mentality that these guys think that they, you know, they don't have to, you know, do certain things to stay on the court. And my thing is, shit, if I was getting paid guaranteed $20 million, I mean, I might take a couple of off days. I might not be as, you know, focused as well. So it's a sad thing, man. I hate it. You know, like I said, man, you want to see the best players on the court, but I mean, shit, if the players don't want it, or if they're feeling contempt or content, and it's only so much you can say as a fan. But too many different injuries, bro. Too many different, you know. Now, one thing I will say before I get off. Now, if you're getting injuries like you fall and hit the floor, and you know, break your hand, or something real serious where it's not talked about like growing a muscle out, that's something different. Like Kawhi Leonard has a condition like a knee condition where it's not even about him staying in shape. Like, he's always, you know, strong. Like, he's always, you know, he's a workout warrior. He takes care of his body, but sometimes still even a fault. Like, he, you know, he doesn't know when to stop. But I'm speaking upon players who are just out on the injury report, like game in and game out, like clockwork. I ain't never seen nothing like this. So weightlifting and body maintenance, dieting, teams practicing, another thing, thinking that it's going to make them worse, and when it's actually going to make them strong. Because if you're sitting around, your body, your muscles are getting more tense and, you know, weakened. Vice versa, if you train and work out, you leave the weight room, you leave the gym, you tend to feel more so better about yourself. You feel more better physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually after you work out. Why is that principle not transferred to NBA athletes, primetime athletes? That if you work out more, the better you're going to feel, not the worse you're going to feel or the weaker you're going to feel. It's beyond me. I don't know who's in charge, but you need to get it together. So those are the three things. And also culture. A lot of these guys, you know, these young kids coming in, it's a new culture nowadays. Everything done switched up. Everything done changed. The mindset is done changed, where you don't see players really, they're settling. They're basically feeling a little bit entitled to, you know, oh, I got a bag, I got 20 million, I got 30 million. So, you know, hey, who gonna tell me something? But hey, y'all, I'm about 5 minutes away from this beach. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can see the sunrise. You're out here, man. But yeah, appreciate y'all coming in. Until next time, pull up a seat, pull up a chair, put it live. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.